Good morning, everyone. So let's start today's session. So today we are going to discuss about clustering that has been included in the last unit of our curriculum. So what we are going to study in this unit? First, I'll be introducing you to the concept of clustering. There are several types of clustering, but we'll be focusing upon only two types of clustering: k-means clustering and hierarchical clustering. And we'll solve few problems related to these techniques. So let's begin with the concept. So what we mean by clustering? In simple words, it's how people judge by observing our peers. So what we mean by that? Let us assume that you are part of some gathering of people, or you are attending some conference, some gathering, right? Wherein you do not know many of the other participants. So what happens in this case? You are entering into the crowd and simply what you do is you go on observing the people, you go on listening to their conversation, right? And whichever group or whichever people you find are of similar taste, or the people who are having the conversation under the topic that you also like, then it automatically happens that you join that group. And obviously, if there is a big crowd of people, ultimately what happens is every person gets attracted to the people who are sharing some common interests, right? Those who are similar to that person. And obviously it happens that certain groups of people are formed, right? So we tend to move with people of similar attributes. In this scenario, we may say that we tend to move with people of similar attributes or similar interests. So does the data. So if you are provided with the data, then this data also tend to move with similar kind of data, right? So it relies on a general assumption that things that look alike must be alike. The things that look alike must be alike. This is a very general assumption, and the concept of clustering is actually following this assumption. So the data elements which are very similar to one another, they are grouped together, right? So we are assuming that if the data points are similar, or if the attributes of the data points are similar, then they are similar. The data points are similar. Okay, so this is what the simple concept of clustering, right? So what about clustering in machine learning now? As we have seen in our first unit, we are having different kinds of machine learning algorithms, and we have stated earlier that we are having supervised learning, we are having unsupervised learning, and we are having reinforcement learning. Also, we have mentioned one category of learning that includes these two, and that is semi-supervised. Right? So, clustering methods come under this category of unsupervised learning methods. So, what we have in unsupervised learning, we are having a data set without labels. In supervised learning, we are having the data set with labels. So, in supervised learning, our data looks like x comma y, where x is the feature vector describing the observation and y is the associated label. But in unsupervised learning, we are not knowing y, right? So, only data we have. So, in unsupervised learning, our data is of the form X. So, we are having collection of observations, right? Collection of observations. And every observation is being described with a vector X, that's all. We do not know in advance the label or the class of that data sample, right? Then this data is presented to our learning algorithm, and what our learning algorithm will do, whichever are the similar data points, those data points are being clustered together. Those are being grouped together. So the unsupervised learning methods will provide us the output in terms of the clusters, the groups of data, right? So similar data points are clustered in one cluster. So how many clusters we would like to have? We may specify the number of clusters, and the learning algorithm will group the input data into those many clusters based on some similarity, right? So this is how unsupervised learning methods work, and clustering are the algorithms, or clustering methods are the unsupervised learning methods. Those we are going to see. Are you getting me? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So, this is the process of grouping the similar data points or similar objects together. So, let us formally define this task of clustering. So, clustering is the task of dividing the population or data points into a number of groups such that data points in the same group are more similar to other data points in the same group and dissimilar to the data points in other groups. So it is basically a collection of objects on the basis of similarity and dissimilarity between them. So what we mean by this? Let us assume that we are having those many data samples with us. Right? So we are supposed to group these data points. Let us assume that we would like to group these data points in 3 groups or 3 clusters. So what will happen? The points which are similar to one another, the points which are closer to one another. So closer in the sense similar, right? So all the points, those are similar to one another, will go in one cluster. So here we have formed 3 clusters. Let us assume that this is cluster 1, this is cluster 2, and this is cluster 3. So all the similar points belong to the same cluster, and the points in 2 different clusters are dissimilar. Right? So this is how the clusters are being formed under clustering. Now, what are the clustering methods those we may have. There are lots of clustering methods. The few are being listed here. We are having density based methods, hierarchical methods, partitioning methods, grid methods, and so on. We are not going to discuss all such clustering methods. We are going to discuss only two algorithms. One is under hierarchical clustering and another is partitioning. Another comes under partitioning methods, right? So let us begin with the very first algorithm and very simple algorithm that comes under partitioning methods, and that is K-means algorithm. Right? So, before going for the K-means algorithm, let us list out few applications of clustering. So, where these clustering algorithms can be used. So, clustering algorithms can be used in recommendation engines, market segmentation, or you may say customer segmentation, social network analysis, grouping of search results, medical imaging, image segmentation, or anomaly detection. So these are few of the applications of clustering. There are the applications of clustering in almost each domain. So whenever we need to group some similar data items together, we find the application of clustering. Say for example, I am illustrating here one example of customer segmentation or market segmentation. So what happens here? See, let us assume that there is a chain of stores, right? And every day there are lots of stores under that chain, right? Like DMart. So DMart is having lots of stores, right, at various places. Now, every day lots of customers are visiting the store, and lots of customers are buying the goods from the stores, right? Now, if we consider the management point of view, suppose there are new products, those are being launched, right? And there are certain offers on those products. So what they want to do is they want to target the customers based on their habits, right? Based on their capacity of purchasing, based on what they purchased in the past. So what they do in such situations, whatever is the history of each customer in terms of maybe what kinds of product the customers frequently buy, right? How much they can spend per month or during some period. So similar kinds of features of each customer are being extracted, and based on those features they tend to group the customers into the segments. So this is known as customer segmentation. So similar kinds of customers having similar habits are being grouped in one cluster. Then another group of customers is having some different kinds of habits, and so on. So depending on the need, they are going to analyze the customer data, and they are going to form the clusters. So this cluster of customers is having the high capacity for purchase. This set of customers is having maybe the medium capacity for purchase, and this cluster may be the low purchase, having the low purchase capacity. So depending on their buying habits, right? So accordingly, what this administration will do, they will target that particular group of customers for particular products, right? So this group of customers will be targeted for some other kinds of products, or this group of customers will be targeted for some other kind of product, right? So this is how this strategical planning is being done in the organizations. So this is what we mean by customer segmentation. So similar kinds of applications we find in all such domains, right? In medical imaging or in image segmentation. So in image segmentation, the images can be clustered based on the pixel characteristics. So we know that every image is formed by pixels, and every pixel is having some attributes like color or texture or something like that. So based on the similarity of the pixel attributes, the similar pixels are grouped together, and this is one kind of image segmentation, right? So there are lots of applications under clustering. I hope you must have understood the applications. May I proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So let us see one example and let us try to analyze this example and how we come up with the solution. So let us assume that there is a pizza chain, and a pizza chain wants to open its delivery centers across a city, right? A pizza chain wants to open its delivery centers across a city. So what do you think would be the possible challenges? So please think on this problem. If a pizza chain wants to open its delivery centers across a city, then what are the important points those they need to consider? What are the challenges for them? Yes, anybody?
They will choose the urban areas.
So there is a city. It is urban area only, no? It is a city, and in that city they want to open the delivery centers.
The main points of city, in main areas.
Okay, anything else? See, the thought process is based on the history, correct? So what they would like to do first, they would like to analyze the areas from where the pizza is being ordered frequently, isn't it? That would be very first criteria. They are having the history, right? From where the pizza is being ordered frequently. So who are the customers, where they stay, and how frequently they order the pizza. So similar kind of history, similar kind of data they are having, right? So what they will do first, they will analyze the areas from where the pizza is being ordered frequently, right? What next they may think, they need to understand as to how many pizza stores has to be opened to cover the delivery in the area. So also they need to decide the number of stores those they can handle, right? So first thing, they will analyze the data and they will find out the areas from where the pizza is being ordered frequently. Next, they will find out or they will understand how many pizza stores they are going to open across the city, right? What next? They need to figure out the locations for the pizza stores, locations for the pizza stores within all those identified areas in order to keep the distance between the store and delivery points is minimum. See, there is a city, a huge city, right? And actually they are running their business in this city, right? But they are facing some problems as far as delivery of pizza is considered. So what they want to open the delivery centers across the city, more than one delivery center, right? So what they need to think, how they will select the locations for opening the new stores. First of all, they will analyze the areas from where the pizza is being ordered frequently. Say for example, this is one area of this city from where the pizza is being ordered frequently. Or this is one more area from where the pizza is being ordered frequently. So first they will identify the areas. What next? Next, they will decide how many stores they are going to open. Right? So let us assume they want to open 2 stores. So they will be focusing upon this area from where they are getting frequent deliveries or frequent orders, and this area from where they are getting frequent orders. Likewise, what next? After these 2 points, after these 2 considerations, within this area, now they would like to find out the location of the pizza store. So whether this would be the location, or whether this would be the location, or whether this would be the location. So obviously, if from all this region they are getting the orders, then obviously they will try to select a location such that the distance from the store to the customers where they would like to deliver the product is minimum. So obviously, if this is the region, they will try to find out the location which is almost equidistant to all the customers, so that the delivery time can be reduced. Right? Right. So with these kinds of observations and analysis, now what they would do is they will go for some kind of clustering. So how they can achieve this? They need to make use of some kind of clustering algorithm. Right? So such kinds of problems can be solved by these clustering algorithms. So let us go to the very first clustering algorithm, very simple algorithm, and that is known as k-means clustering. It is very popular algorithm. So k-means clustering. So here this k stands for the number of clusters. So initially we need to figure out how many clusters we would like to have, and this number is k, and that is why it is known as k-means clustering. right? So first of all, in this algorithm, we need to identify the number of clusters in which we would like to segregate our data. Okay, now once we have decided the number of clusters, what we are going to do is we are going to randomly initialize the cluster centers. Those are denoted here as mu1, mu2 up to mu_k. So as we are having k clusters, we should have k cluster centers. So we are going to randomly initialize those cluster centers as mu1, mu2 up to mu_k. So how we are going to initialize those cluster centers? Typically what we do is we are randomly choosing the data points, k data points, and these k data points will become the cluster centers. Are you getting me? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
So see here, this is, say for example, this is our data, right? So few points we are having in our data. Okay, and let us assume that we are deciding the value of k equal to 3. Let us assume, right? So we would like to cluster this data in 3 clusters, 3 groups. So what we need to do, we have decided k value, and now what we need to do is we need to randomly initialize the cluster centers. So the strategy for initializing cluster centers is we are selecting randomly few data points as cluster centers, right? So see here what we are doing is we are selecting these 3 data points. These are the data points. So we are selecting these 3 data points as our cluster center randomly. Okay? Now, what next? This algorithm is iterative algorithm. So we are going to repeat few steps now. So until there is no change in my cluster center mu I, we are going to repeat some process. So what we are going to do? See, these are the initial cluster centers, those we have selected. Now, what we are going to do is every data point is now being assigned to one of the clusters. I'll repeat what we would like to do next. Every data point we would like to assign to the nearest cluster or the nearest cluster center. So for that purpose, what we are going to do is we are going to find out the distance between the data point and each cluster center that we have. So we may use any distance function for this. Any distance function. So typically we are making use of Euclidean distance to compute the distance between 2 points. Sometimes in problem statement it has been mentioned which distance function to be used. There are several distance functions available. There is Minkowski distance, there is Manhattan distance, and so on. But typically Euclidean distance is being used to compute the distance between 2 points, right? So what we are going to do simply is, if this is the data point, then I'll be computing the Euclidean distance from this data point and this cluster center. Also, I'll be finding out the distance of the same data point from other cluster center. Also, I'll be finding out the distance of this data point with this cluster center. So I'm having 3 cluster centers. So I'll be finding out the distance between the data point and all the cluster centers. So whichever is the minimum distance, I will assign that point to that particular cluster. Right? So whichever is the minimum distance, I will assign that data point with that cluster center. And this procedure is being carried out for every data sample that we have. So we have computed the distance of this data point with all cluster centers. Similarly, we are going to compute the distance of this data point from all cluster centers and so on. And whichever is the minimum distance, that data point is being assigned to that particular cluster center. Right? So see here what we have done. So for this data point, we have computed the distance with this, this and this, and this distance is minimum. So this data point will go into this particular cluster, having this cluster center. This data point is having minimum distance with this center. So this point is assigned to this cluster center. These remaining 4 points are having the minimum distance with this cluster center. So those are assigned to this particular cluster center. So this is how, if you look at this particular diagram or figure, you may find out that now we have formed 3 clusters. In this clusters we are having 2 points. In this cluster also we are having 2 points. And in this cluster also we are having 5 points. Right? So this is how in very first iteration the situation of different cluster looks like.
Okay, ma'am.
Right? And how we have computed this distance? We have made use of Euclidean distance. So we know very well the formula for Euclidean distance. If I am having 2 points, say x and the cluster center mu, and if I want to compute the distance between these 2 points, then what I'll do? See, suppose this x, this point is described using vector x, and this point, that is the center, this is also described using the vector. Meaning, suppose if this point is described using 2 features, say x1 and x2, this is also a data point only. So this mu center is also described with 2 parameters, mu1 and mu2. Right? So we are having these 2 points. X is described, say for example, using 2 features x1 and x2. Mu is also described with 2 features mu1 and mu2. So simply what we are going to do? Simply we are going to find out the Euclidean distance between these 2 points. So how we are going to do that? If I am having 2 features, what I will do? I will have the square root of, this is the summation for every feature. So if I am having m number of features, then I will be having x1 minus mu1 square plus x2 minus mu2 square and the square root of that. So this will be the Euclidean distance. Got it? So for every point and with every cluster center, we are computing this Euclidean distance. And accordingly, we are mapping that particular point to that particular cluster center. So once this is iteration 1. So once now we have formed the clusters, what we are going to do next? We are going to recompute the mean. we are going to recompute the mean or cluster center. So how we are going to do that? See, for example, if I am having these 2 points in this cluster, then I'll be finding out the mean of these 2 points. Here also, I'll be finding out the mean of these 2 points. And here, I'll be finding out the mean of these 5 points. Those belong to this particular cluster. And whatever is the mean that we are computing, that will become my new cluster center mu I for that respective cluster. Got it? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So, see here what we have done. So, in the first cluster, we had 2 points, and after recomputation of new mean, look at these stars. So, this is my new mean for this cluster. This is the new mean for this cluster, and this is a new mean for this cluster. Correct? Now, what next we are going to do? We are going to reiterate. We are going to repeat this process until there is no change in our mean of every cluster. So once again, what we are going to do? We are having once again 3 means. So once again, we'll be picking up every point and we are going to compute the distance of that point from every cluster center. Right? And once again, now whichever is the nearest cluster center, we are going to assign that point to that particular cluster. So what will happen in the next iteration? See here. Now the clusters are changed with respect to the new means. Right? So whichever are the points, those are nearer to that particular cluster center. These points are entered, or these points are forming, these points belong to that particular cluster. So now in this cluster, I am having 3 points. In this cluster, I am having 2 points. And in this particular cluster, I am having 4 points. Got it? We are going to solve one problem so that we can understand it better. Right? So this process goes on repeating until there is no change in our cluster center. Meaning, until our clusters become stable, this process will be repeated. So in the next iteration, what will happen? Once again, the same process gets repeated and once again, the clusters are formed. So once again, the same process gets repeated and the points are being assigned to closest clusters. Right? So once again, recomputation of centers and clusters. And see here, this is the final status. So now there is no more change in our centers, cluster centers. So these clusters are now stable. Right? So this is the end of our algorithm. Whenever there is no change in my cluster center, then that is the end. Because now our points are attached to that particular cluster and we have formed successfully 3 clusters in this case. Right? So this is how our algorithm works for k-means clustering. I hope you must have understood this algorithm. So let us try to solve one problem so that we can understand it better. And then we'll conclude this session. Okay. So see here, cluster the following 8 points with xy representing the locations into 3 clusters. So they have provided k equal to 3 and 8 points are being given. So A1 is described as 2, 10. So we are having XY location of that point. Not necessarily every point or in every problem the points are described with only 2 features. I may have n number of features. Right? In this case, this is a simple scenario. So we are having 8 data points and every data point is described with XY. So this is X and this is Y for every point. Okay. Now, also they have mentioned which are the cluster centers out of these 8 points. Right? So sometimes in problem statement they mention which points to be considered initially as cluster centers. If this is not been provided, then we can randomly pick 3 points out of these as initial cluster centers. Okay. Now, as they have mentioned, to pick this A1, A4 and A7 as the cluster centers, we need to consider now these 3 as the cluster centers. Yes.
Ma'am, is there any criteria to choose the initial cluster centers? Miss, how
See,
can we assume?
typically, randomly we are picking the cluster centers. But one criteria that we may have is by some data visualization techniques. If the number of features are less, then it is possible for us to visualize how that data resides. So where that data points reside, right? So it is possible to visualize such kind of a thing if the dimensionality is small for the feature vectors, right? So if it is possible to visualize such kind of a data spread, then usually what we do is we pick the initial centers such that they are far apart from one another. Right? But this is not always possible, and that is why we say that randomly pick any 3 points, right, as initial clusters. Right? Now, usually,
Yes, ma'am. But ma'am,
yes.
ma'am, how can how do we know that there are only 3 clusters? There may be 4, 5.
So that
Or
is what the limitation actually of K-means clustering. If we want to go for K-means clustering, we need to know in advance in how many clusters we need to segregate our data. So K must be known. So we want to know in how many clusters we would like to segment out our customers. Right? Or if I am talking about image segmentation, if I want to go for binarization of the image, right? If I want to go for binarization of the image, meaning, say for example, I am having gray color image and I want to convert it into binary image. So I know in binary, I'll be having only 2 clusters. One that denotes white color and another that denotes black color. So all the pixels I'll be clustering into 2 clusters, white and black, 0 and 1. Right? So while solving such kinds of problems in advance, we need to know how many clusters segregate our data. Right? So K needs to be. So here we are selecting this as the initial cluster center. Right? And we need to iterate through. Okay? Now, here the number of iterations may require. Okay? And that is why, for the sake of simplicity and for understanding, in this example, we are asked to find out the output after 2 iterations. Right? The convergence of the algorithm says that whenever there is no change in the cluster center, we need to stop. But it may happen that several computations, several iterations are required. As we are manually solving this problem, it is not possible to iterate through for many number of times. And that is why we are restricting ourselves here in this example to find the output after 2 iterations. Okay, so how we are going to solve this problem? See carefully. See here, we have listed here all 8 data points. Okay, and these 3 are the initial cluster centers. Those we have selected. So this cluster center may be for cluster C1. This cluster center is for cluster C2. And this cluster center is for cluster C3. So what we are going to do simply is, we are going to find out the distance of every data point from all these 3 clusters. So here I am having this data point, say A1. So I'll be finding out the distance of A1 from this cluster center C1. I'm finding out distance of this A1 from this cluster center C2 and also from C3. So we are using Euclidean distance. So see here, this is X component, so first feature. So 2 minus 2 square plus 10 minus 10 square. So obviously we are comparing, or we are finding out the distance between the same point. So it should be 0. So distance of A1 from cluster center C2. So what is that? Or cluster center of C2, that is mu2. So mu2 here is 5, 8. So what we are doing? 2 minus 5 square plus 10 minus 8 square and square root of that. So it comes out to be 3.606 and so on. So we are computing the Euclidean distance between every data point and every cluster center. Right? So once we are having this data available, we are going to assign the clusters for all those points. So this is iteration number 1. Correct? So simply see here, what is the minimum distance out of these 3? 0. So this point belongs to cluster C1. What is the minimum distance out of these 3? This 3.162. So this point A2 will go into this cluster number C3. So for A3, we have computed the distances from all 3 clusters. Right? So the minimum distance is this 5. So this point A3 will go into this cluster C2. So likewise, we are finding out the probable clusters, right, for all those points. And we have come up with this set of clusters. Those are assigned to that particular point. Got it? Yes? Any doubts so far?
Ma'am, how did you classify this C1, C2, C3?
See, this is my point A1 or this is my point A2. So let us assume this point A2. We have computed the Euclidean distance of A2 and this mu. This is my cluster center, na? 210.
Yes,
These are the initial cluster centers. Those we have assumed.
yes,
right? So this is my mu1, this is my mu2 and this is my mu3. So simply I am computing the distance between these 2 points. So distance between this 2,5 and 210. These are 2 points. So Euclidean distance, meaning 2 minus 2 square plus 5 minus 10 square and square root of that. Right? So this is how we have computed the distance between each point and each cluster center. So whichever is the minimum distance. So A3, see here, what we are inferring out of that. Say for example, we are considering this A2, no? So this is the distance 5. So A2 and cluster center mu1 is 5 units apart. Right? A2 and this cluster center mu2 is 4.242 unit apart. Similarly, A2 and this mu3 is 3.162 unit apart. So A2 is more close. If the distance is minimum, then we say that this point A2 is more nearer to this mu3. Isn't it? Small distance
Yes.
means more similarity. Correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I got it.
Right.
Yes.
Smaller the distance, more is the similarity. So A2 is more closer to this mu3. So this point gets assigned to this cluster C3. Right? So this is how we have assigned the clusters to each and every point. Now, what is the next step in our algorithm? Once now in this iteration 1, we have assigned the clusters, we would like to compute the new mean for the clusters. So in cluster C1, I am having a single point, right? And that is why the cluster mean will remain same, 2, 10 for this cluster C1. Only one point is there, right? So this mean will not get changed. What about C2? For this C2, see here, I am having 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 points. Right? So what I will do? I will find out the mean of all these 5 points. So how I am going to do that? See here, I am having this point 84. So x values. For this point C2, I am having 8. For this point, which is in C2, I am having x value as 5. Right? For this C2, I am having x value as 7. For this C2, I am having x value as 6. For this C2, I am having x value as 4. So I am going to sum up all those. So this comes out to be 30. And how many data points? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 data points. So 30 divided by 5. So it comes out to be 6. So this is x part. Similarly, we are going to do it for y, for all those points. So once again, I am adding this 4 plus 8 plus 5 plus 4 plus 9 divided by 5, because I am having 5 points in that cluster. So once again, the summation is 30 and divided by 5 will provide me the value 6. So my new cluster center becomes C2 as 6, 6, mean of all those points. Got it? Yes? Any doubt so far?
Yes, ma'am.
Any doubt?
No, ma'am.
Right. So in cluster C3 we are having 2 points. So mean of these 2 points is the new cluster C3. Right? So this is how we have computed new cluster centers for C1, C2 and C3. Now in the next iteration what we are going to do is, we are going to consider now these new centers. So first center is 210, second is 66, and third center, that is newly computed as 1.5, 3.5. Okay, now the same process gets repeated. So see here what has happened. So for A1, once again we are going to compute similarly the distance from this mu1, this mu2 and this mu3. Similarly A2 and mu1 distance between A2 and mu2, distance between A2 and mu3. So similarly we have computed all those distances. Now once again what we are going to do? We are going to assign the clusters to respective points. So A1, this is the minimum distance. So obviously A1 will go in cluster 1. A2, this is the minimum distance. So A2 will go into cluster C3. A3, this is the minimum distance. So A3 will go into cluster C2 and so on. So once again, we have reassigned the clusters to the points. So see here, in earlier iteration, we had only one point in C1. But now, after recomputation of mean and reassignment of the cluster, now in my cluster 1, I am having 2 points, this A1 and A8. Right? C3 remains same. The same 2 points are there in C3. But 1 point from C2 earlier has shifted now to cluster 1, C1. Right? So obviously the mean for C1 is changed. Mean for C2 is changed. Mean for C3 is same. So till my cluster means are changing, I need to iterate through. So still my clusters are not stable. So to come up with the final solution, actually as the means are changed, I need to once again iterate through. So I need to go for iteration number 3 and so on. But as in this problem, we are asked to compute till iteration 2, we are not moving further. But in practice, we need to repeat the same process till we get the stable clusters. Right? Are you getting me? If you have any doubt, please let me know. Yes, any doubt?
No.
Okay, so this is how our K-means algorithm works. Right? So I hope you must have understood now this algorithm. So tomorrow in the next class we'll cover hierarchical clustering. Right? So let's conclude today's session. Thank you.